She had her first child at 16. A bright, big-eyed, bouncing baby girl. The child, that is. Gave birth to the second, a boy, less than 2 years later. The little girl was a product of the union with her so-called Uncle Jack, a close family friend who began molesting her when she was 12. He abused her so nonchalantly that she took it as normal. Her family treated her pregnancy with disregard. Just one more youngster knocked up like her two cousins. There was no moral judgment to be made. There was no sympathy. There were no questions about who was the father. It simply didn't matter. She was undisputably the mom. Her little boy was the product of a sexual tryst with her so-called daddy, who she worked for on the night shift, turning tricks in cheap hotels in a vain attempt to support herself and the first child. Now barely 20, there she stood, her prettiness both blessing and curse. Nice body, even if her tits, always too big for her small frame, showed the stretch marks associated with early pregnancy. Still somewhat firm and thickly nippled, they served well as an inducement for horny old men looking to get fucked. Romance had long ago ceased to be an option. Her concern was the next John willing to spend the next buck to get fucked, and hopefully a taste for the exotic that would fit the classification of an extra. Extras were particularly cool because they did not have to be shared with Daddy, that is, so long as he did not know about them. It was a pretty good bet that some guy who would pay an extra $50 to have her piss down his throat or ram a strap-on up his ass would likely want to keep it to himself. The only extra she really disliked was taking it up her ass, particularly from a guy with a big dick and chip on his shoulder. Every job has its setbacks, she thought, and no matter how much a John was willing to go for, she never ever tolerated penetration without a condom. I had the good fortune to make her acquaintance on a steamy Thursday evening in a pissy-smelling bar just adjacent to a titty bar somewhere in North Carolina. I was real fucking horny, but I was also quite flush, having just turned half a Z a blow to a square business guy looking for an idyllic weekend of his own. I wanted her for a while. She had to confer with her daddy to get an overnight rate. As the object de mon désir approached, I could tell that Daddy was in the mood to make some bread. She confirmed this with me, quoting me a price that was comparable to my rent-a-car rate. I felt beyond doubt that she was worth every bit as much as a Buick Century or other fine car, so I took the deal.